Hello, everyone, and welcome back to The Hum, a Kansas Hoops podcast via the Field of 68. I'm your host, Sam Lance, and I'm joined once again by co-host Jackson Bezdek. And Jackson, we not only have one game, not two games, but three games to go over today from this past week of Kansas basketball. So much to cover in this episode from the three games, so let's go ahead and get into it. Episode 18 of The Hum, a Kansas Hoops podcast, coming right up. Like we just mentioned, Kansas has played three games since we were last here on the Hum. The Jayhawks, they traveled to Oklahoma State and picked up a 90-66 win this past Tuesday. Then Kansas went into Morgantown and fell to 7-11 West Virginia, 91-85 on Saturday. And then last night on Big Monday, Kansas rebounded from that game to defeat Cincinnati 74-69 inside of Allen Fieldhouse. Three games to go over, and first, Jackson and I are going to start with Oklahoma State here. There's really not a ton to say about this game. The Jayhawks really dominated this one throughout the entirety, starting off on that 25-10 run to begin the game, and Kansas really never looked back from that. The Jayhawks shot 62% from the field in this game. Pretty crazy. Outscored Oklahoma State in the paint by 22 points, scored 20 points on the fast break. Really, this was probably one of the most efficient games for Kansas all around in terms of the metrics, and then you had all five starters in double figures. Jackson, just some quick thoughts on the Oklahoma State game.
Well, Kansas actually looked really good for 40 minutes for the first time in a while, I'd say. Coming off the OU game, which was a great second half, probably the best half Kansas has played in a couple months now. And they kept the pedal down. I mean, they looked really good both halves. Didn't let Oklahoma State even think about having a chance to come back in this one kind of at all. It was start to finish domination from Kansas, which is really nice to see. One thing I saw that I thought was really interesting was that DeJuan was actually the first guy subbed out of that game about 7 minutes into it. So, I mean, that's kind of what we'd been saying with El Marco coming off the bench now that's kind of a possibility to where you don't have to run DeJuan into the ground because you can bring a guy off the bench who can actually handle the ball. And I think it also means that Furphy's conditioning's picking up. You know, he, at least in the Cincinnati game that we just watched last night, didn't look tired at all. And I actually thought that was a theme for the last three games because I mean, I was closely watching that because of how much we talked about it. I wanted to see kind of how he progresses there. And I mean, shoot, we'll get into him later, but that kid is balling right now.
Yeah, Furphy, his kind of coming out party, his official coming out party was in this Oklahoma State game. 15 points, 5 of 6 from the field, and 3 of 4 from three with 7 rebounds. So that was kind of the first starter for Furphy with the role he's been on, which, like Jackson said, we'll get to later on this episode. But yeah, that was quality game for Kansas. Another game where all starters were in double figures. Hunter, 21-7. Kevin McCullough, 18, 8 assists and 6 rebounds. Another pretty close to a triple-double there for Kevin. DeJuan had 11 points on 4 of 6 shooting. 3 assists, only 3 assists for DeJuan in that game. Pretty low total, but then you had KJ, 16 points, 8 of 10 from the field, 5 assists and 4 rebounds. Like we said, that was the most complete game that Kansas has played. And nobody on Oklahoma State were in double figures besides Bryce Thompson with 20, and then you had 2 guys with 10 points. So it was a pretty good defensive effort for the Jayhawks as well. Really just a good win for Kansas. And you think, you know, after getting one like that, okay, maybe this is where Kansas starts to get rolling a little bit. They really start being that formidable team, the preseason number 1 team. And then the Jayhawks go down to Morgantown and do what they did. And the story of this game was pretty simple, Jackson. I mean, Kansas couldn't guard. Exactly how Bill Self says, they just couldn't guard.
Can't guard anybody. And especially when West Virginia isn't missing anything, that's not a good combo. I mean, this is me and my friends actually got in a real heated discussion about this, where is the question is 3-point defense just pure luck? because oh my gosh, how many times do we have to sit here and talk about? I mean, I'm on the side that it's not, but there's a case to be made that Kansas might be the unluckiest team of all time. I mean, West Virginia is a terrible shooting team. They were 9 of 12 to start the game from 3. TCU had their best shooting against Kansas. UCF has their best shooting performance against Kansas. I mean, I can see why this is getting
It's not
frustrating for
it's
fans.
not unlucky, Jackson. It's just whenever you're
Thank
playing
you. Thank
Kansas,
you. Thank you.
that's just what's gonna happen. Like all of these
Play
teams,
up to your
whenever they're playing
competition.
Kansas, it's the
You play
biggest
up.
game of the season for them.
It's their Super Bowl. It is, especially a team like West Virginia, who's got nothing this year. Their season is a waste, essentially. These big games against teams like Kansas and Houston and Baylor, it's all they got this year. So everything's getting thrown on the table. And Raekwon Battle, shout out to you, dude. Shout out to you.
And the West Virginia crowd was also absolutely insane in that game. Booing Dickinson every time he got the ball. The ESPN broadcast, like the fans were right in front of the camera, so you could hear like a lot of what the fans were saying during that game. They chanted FBI at Kansas, all sorts of stuff. But yeah, West Virginia came into this game shooting 30% from three. They shot 12 of 21 in this game, which is, I think, 48%, something like that. Uh,
Bro, it's way
just,
higher than that. That's
just,
like
oh
60%.
yeah, 12. Sorry,
Nuts,
I
dude.
thought I was thinking 10 of 21. Yeah, that's
Yeah,
like,
it's like 60 close to.
yeah, it's like 58 to almost 60.
Like that's ridiculous though.
Yeah, only happens to Kansas, but yeah, this game actually had a pretty crazy ending to it as well. We'll take you to when KJ he makes two huge free throws to take a 1 point lead, 81-80 Kansas with 2:40 left to play. From there, kind of just all craziness ensues. West Virginia goes up one. Then Furphy he gives up that offensive rebound and fouls. It gives West Virginia an extra possession. On that extra possession, West Virginia gets another offensive rebound and gets sent to the line. Then West Virginia makes one of two at the line, and the free throw gets rebounded offensively. Again, that's 3 offensive rebounds here now for Kansas. It ends up being 85-83 after all of that happens, and then Kansas presses with about 28 seconds left. Marco Jackson thinks he has that steal, and it was called a foul instead. Bill Self was so hot on the
Oh,
sideline
man.
after that one, and really that was kind of the end of the game right there. Kriisa, he hit 2 free throws, and even though McCullough hit that long 2 that we thought maybe could have been a 3, was ruled a 2, just wasn't enough. Kansas ends up falling 91-85, and get this, Jackson, West Virginia, they played the hum like right
Oh,
before
no
that
way.
timeout, and that just it didn't sit well with me.
Dagger. It's the dagger. Look, we're gonna talk how Johhny Furphy is the best player in the country for the next month, probably. All 3 of those offensive rebounds were because he didn't box out. That was really, really tough. Nobody wants to see that. We want Furphy to be good. Like, and I say we as in the fan base and the coaching staff and the players. Everybody's pulling for this kid. That was super, super tough. I mean, that was he is not physical enough yet. He's just not. He is skill set off the charts, potential off the charts, athleticism off the charts. But you got to box out there. They even moved him. The second one was the free throw shooter getting the rebound back because he was supposed to block out the shooter. They
Yep.
teach you that in second grade. I mean, that's honestly a mental thing more than anything. And then they move him off of that spot and put KJ there for the third one. And then it was really frustrating. It'll come with time, but it's not why we lost either. I mean, him hitting shots in the first half kept us in the game because I mean West Virginia couldn't miss. So that was really nice to have Furphy getting hot from downtown in the first half, but we got to box out, Johhny. I mean, that it's pretty simple. It's as simple as that. That's unacceptable. It's the second one was lazy. He's better than that. He is, and he'll figure it out.
What's kind of crazy to me about this game is Kansas played it's probably one of its best offensive games of the year. It was its second most efficient game of the season on Torvik, and they still lose to West Virginia? You're telling me that West Virginia put up 91 points against Kansas, and this Kansas defense coming into this game was ranked like 9th or 11th, something around there in Ken
Um,
And
in Ken
now,
Palm, yeah, you can say it.
yeah, now Kansas is 25, I believe, in defensive efficiency. So that
That's a
game alone
crazy
dropped
drop.
Kansas a lot. And
That's a crazy drop. And you almost give up 100 to West Virginia. You deserve to drop to 70, in my opinion. Like, oh my gosh, that. And then to go back to the worst loss of the Self era thing, this was 7 spots higher on that list than the UCF loss. Like, this is so much worse. I mean, this is usually sometimes West Virginia has bad teams. You lose in Morgantown. Oh, Bob Huggins, they press, whatever. That's all gone. That's all gone. This is a team that's fighting to stay in the Power Five at this point, and you let them just walk all over you. They wanted it more, straight up.
I'm okay with getting torched by Bob Huggins, but I love Bob Huggins. This new West Virginia team with Eilert, like, come on, guys, let's not do that. But yeah, Kansas ends up losing 91-85. They actually got something out of Timberlake in this game too, which is
Yeah, he
kind of
played well.
crazy. He finished with, I believe it was 12 points in this game. Yeah, 12 points, 4-7 from the field for Timberlake. So that was kind of a positive development. But Raekwon Battle got absolutely insanely hot. We've mentioned this before this year too. Kansas has just not done a good job this year and taken away guys opposing best player. Battle goes off. It was Sellers, the UCF game went off. Marquette, pretty much their whole team went off in that
Kristen
game.
Newton went off.
Tristan
I
Newton
mean,
went off.
Battle hit some tough shots. Like those, a lot of them were highly contested, but there's got to be a better way. I mean, I know it's Big 12 basketball, but all right, like you gotta like sometimes you might have to play don't let him catch. Like especially like West Virginia is not gonna have every guy on the floor is not gonna kill you as bad as this one guy is. I mean, I think back to a game, Buddy Hield's senior year. This is after the triple overtime masterpiece where he had 48. The next game we beat him in Norman and he only had like 26, 27.
Oh,
Devontae Graham, yeah, right. Devontae Graham followed him, like half of them are for the free throw line too. Devontae Graham followed him around the entire game, like literally followed him around like a little puppy. I mean, I think we just got to go to that at some point because this is going to keep happening. There's so many guards in the Big 12 who can just go for 30. There are so many, and against Kansas, there's a better chance of that happening. So there's got to be an answer to this issue.
yeah. And the way Kansas is playing that drop coverage ball screen defense right now, they're going to keep getting torched if they don't figure something out there. But it's time to talk about the Cincinnati game now a little bit from Big Monday. Kansas in this game up by as much as 12 in the first half, but Cincinnati just kept kind of hanging in there. And this one, it was a tie game, 35-35 at halftime, and was a 5-point game, 59-54 with about 4 minutes to play. But KU kind of quickly got some separation right after that under 4 timeout to get it to about 7, 8, 9. And after that, Cincinnati just couldn't get back within striking distance, and that was game right there. We're not going to go super in depth into this game. Really some major storylines. Hunter caught some foul trouble. Kansas played without him for a while in this game. Had Parker back there. Kevin McCullough was not himself in this game from the field. 5 of 17, but again, just an animal from the free throw line. 8 of 12. KJ and Dewan didn't have their best games in this one, and the bench was non-existent. 0 bench points. Nobody really rebounded in this game either, besides one man. But Jackson, this is a great team win, I think, and it's because of one guy that this win was able to be gotten, and that is Johhny Furphy. And now it's just time to talk about him. Johhny Furphy, the week of the Furphy, I have tweeted. This is what this is at this point, Jackson. I think we're going to remember this for a long time to come. Johhny Furphy is here.
I'm definitely going to remember Johhny Furphy for a long time to come. I'm not going to remember this Cincinnati game though. It was a pretty dead game. Before we talk about Furphy, I'm a little concerned with McCullough's efficiency from the field. It's been dropping the past couple games. I just kind of want to just put that out there as I am concerned as of right now, January 23rd. about Kevin McCullough shooting. I think there's not a lot of options for Kansas to go to other than him and Furphy in terms of that. So I just want to look for that in the next couple of games. Let's just monitor how that efficiency goes. But man, Johhny Furphy, like talk about, I mean, he has double. He gets 10 boards right after, giving up 3 of the biggest rebounds of the game against West Virginia. Comes back and clearly Bill comes up to him and is like, "Hey, Johhny, starting. It's cool, yeah? I'm gonna have to rebound if you want to stay out there." And Johhny did just that. And he he's so good, Sam. He had multiple finishes at the rim that were super athletic. He was in the right spot a lot. Like his cutting was really good. And I've been saying that all year. I think he just looks super comfortable when he's out there on the offensive end.
He's the
He's
first
always
down the floor in transition, it seems like
yep,
every time. Every
yep.
time.
He plays really well with the other 4 guys. That when he got that and one, KJ almost knocked him over. He hit him so hard. He was so excited. Like this is very needed for this Kansas team. This is a spark that can get this team going through conference play. The schedule is just about to ramp up. Like right now, it's coming. It's here. I mean, there is no margin of error anymore for this Kansas team, especially after the 2 losses you've dropped. Johhny Furphy he's the X factor. We thought it's going to be on Marco. It's Johhny Furphy. Johhny Furphy is Mr. X Factor. He's taken this team to another level. Man, he's the man. Johnny Basketball. He's the man.
Since being named a starter, Johhny Furphy is averaging 14 and a half points, 7 rebounds, shooting 19 of 34 from the field, which is 55.8%, and 10 of 21 from three-point range, 47.6%.
That's solid.
You're telling me that is being added into one of the best 4 players in the country? I mean, this is absolutely ridiculous.
He's going to average 15 a game the rest of the season. On top of Hunter and Kevin, who are already doing it.
I think that Johhny could realistically average anywhere from 8 to 12 this year, and Kansas will be monumentally better with just that. But yeah, before Johhny Furphy was a starter, just 5.7 points per game, 2.7 rebounds per game, and 34% from 3. Since that Oklahoma game, when he's been in that starting lineup, man, he has just totally flipped, it seems. Getting him in there seems to be giving him so much more confidence. And now, like, no wonder, way back when, in Kansas Basketball Media Day, we've said it before, but no wonder Bill Self mentioned Johhny Furphy first. Like, whenever he was asked, who's getting that last spot, El Marco or Timberlake? And he said Johhny. Like, we were all like, what is happening? But now it just makes total sense. He is so good. He's Johhny Furphy, guys. He is the savior for the Kansas Jayhawks this year. Like, I hope you know, Johhny Furphy is probably the savior.
He's the last piece to the core 4. He's the shooter they've been looking for. He's the scorer they've been looking for. He's been everything that Bill Self could ask for. This is a much more complete team with those 5 on the floor. Like Kansas can really do anything they want offensively when Johhny Furphy's out there.
Yeah, Bill Self said, plain and simple, in the post game yesterday, we're a different team with Johhny Furphy out there. And if you think about it, Hunter Dickinson has kind of unlocked himself a little bit the past few games scoring the ball. And he's been getting a lot more touches in the post and being able to just kind of go and score like over people. And he wasn't able to do that before these past few games. And I think it's a lot because Johhny Furphy is providing that space that the Kansas offense needs. And yeah, he just fits perfect with this lineup. And now you're telling me you got DeJuan, great point guard. You have Kevin McCullough, who really he can handle the ball. He's he's a 2 guard. Like, he can play that 2 guard role. He can shoot the ball. He can make plays. He can drive. He's kind of Kansas' go-to scorer. Then you have Furphy, who now you have somebody in the starting lineup who can make incredible shots from 3, score, offensive rebound, defensive rebound. Then you got KJ and Hunter, the best 4 or 5 in the country. So you've added not only more rebounding to this team, you've added more shooting now with Johhny Furphy. This team is playing well with Johhny in there.
And length.
And length. It's really just about getting the bench going a little bit, which we'll kind of get into now. But this is another big thing with Johhny. We kind of talked about this already, but he played 19 minutes against Oklahoma and he looked tired. Like he looked dog tired heading to the bench. 36 minutes last night against Cincinnati and he didn't. So I think that's a pretty big positive. 36 minutes from Johhny Furphy.
Yeah, totally. That's kind of that almost like cements it for him, like being in this lineup and closing games. That was kind of hit that and foul trouble, the only two things kind of keeping him from really playing the whole game. And now he's seems to be super fresh, running around. He's offensive rebounding too, which is all effort. Like that's literally 100% effort, and he's doing it in the second half too. So clearly he's found a way to get past that. And he wasn't in foul trouble last night, I believe. He still picked up a couple like I don't know how he does it.
He gets so unlucky, Jackson. So unlucky.
It's crazy. He gets the dumbest calls. I don't even know what he's doing. I just feel bad. He's just a freshman. He's an Australian freshman. He's not going to get these calls.
Yeah. Johhny Furphy, he's been absolutely incredible. The Jayhawks, with Johhny, obviously, they still haven't, like, you would think whenever that fifth guy starting to play well for Kansas. Kansas has been searching for that fifth guy all year. Everything would just kind of click into place, and that really hasn't happened exactly yet. And this guy named Mike, who does the Field of 68 newsletter, he said in response to my tweet about this that it might be the defensive drop off that El Marco, like changing from El Marco to Furphy, gives you. That might be the difference that we're seeing, why Kansas isn't quite rolling yet, but I think that's going to get worked out soon. I think Furphy has the potential to be a pretty good defender for this Kansas team.
He was pretty good last night. There was one play in the first half where he got taken off the dribble bad, and Cincinnati guy just went in for a dunk. Forget who that was, but he had a really good first half, number 0. Forget his name. But yeah, he just did a simple sweep through and went right by Johhny. So I mean, it's definitely a point to be made. He's still learning, and this
Cincinnati
is still very
look to attack Johhny Furphy. Like
they did. They made
a lot of teams are going to do that, I think, where okay, we got Furphy switched, let's go at that guy.
Yeah, but Furphy's a competitor. He's going to welcome that challenge, and Bill Self is going to get him to welcome it. It'll figure itself out as the season goes. And, even to combat that, how nice it is to have El Marco coming off the bench where, he's a pretty solid on-ball defender and a really good athlete. That's a good weapon to have.
Yeah, so let's get into talking about the bench a little bit now. Kansas has answers for their 5 starters now. I mean, that starting 5 group is going to be the starting group the rest of the year. Those guys are going to be playing 30 to 35 to even more minutes per game than that for the rest of the season. But Kansas still is going to need a little something out of this bench. No bench points versus Cincinnati last night. And for the season, Kansas is averaging 14 points per game off the bench. That's number 317 in the country. And KU's bench minute percentage is number 354 in the country. Very low for both of those. And here's my thing. I look and I see 14 points per game average.
That's more than
on the bench. Like that seems like way more.
That's what I'm saying, dude. That seems bad. Like I thought it'd be like 7.
Like that's really bad. I saw somebody, I think it was Shreyas from the Kansas City Star that tweeted this with the bench, and somebody replied to the tweet like, oh, like I misread this. I thought you said 14 points the whole entire season. Like, and I thought that could be a thing, and it's like
yeah, 14 a game is like, but you got to factor in like the random Timberlake games and Parker Brown's dunks that he has. Those do count.
The fact that he even has to question that it might be 14 points for the whole season.
El Marco hit a couple free throws at the end of the game. So
that is true. There were 2 bench.
We did score. But 0 field goals, which is the important part. It's so bad. How many 354 out of what? Like 370 something? Like that's got to be pretty much last.
Yeah, on KenPom there are 362 teams.
So it's basically dead last in minute percentage, which is weird, but it's fine. Like Bill said something Bill said something last night when he was talking to Scott Van Pelt after the game about like the timeouts are longer in the tournament, the breaks are longer in the tournament, the halftime's longer in the tournament. So if you're talking about like Kansas winning in March and you want to hammer the depth on why you're going to pick them to lose in round 2, maybe find another angle than that because
It would just be foul trouble at that point
it
that
would
Kansas would need depth for in the tournament.
exactly. And it's really only Johhny and Hunter that's really had a problem with it. And Hunter, I saw something. He fouls like he barely even fouls twice a half, like on average. Like he's one foul every 17 or 18 minutes. So even he doesn't have it's just random games where he picks up 2 dumb ones that it seems to be a problem. But that the 14 points per game, hey man, I call that a success. that, it's so bad, Sam. But your starters are so good and so experienced, and you don't get what you want out of Timberlake. I mean, it's really like you Bill Self planned this whole team to like Timberlake average 12, 13 off the bench. Also, we got to say Arterio Morris would be super helpful, but that's that. But yeah, that's you don't want to be in the number 300s in anything.
It's right now, during Big 12 play where this like really hurts Kansas because like you said, in the tournament, Kansas can play everybody 35 minutes a game and have Nick and Elmarco and Parker take up the 12 to 15 minutes that are left.
Yeah.
But right now that it's hard, if you have foul trouble during the Big 12 conference, you need guys to come in without much of a drop off. You just need more guys to get through Big 12 play. It is what it is. It's a grind out there every single night. You got guys getting banged up. I don't think that anybody on Kansas really wants to play 38 minutes per game in Big 12 play. Like that does not sound fun.
Every night
on your
is
body.
brutal. That's a brutal ask to ask of your guys every single night.
Yeah, so Kansas right now, they still need something from this bench. And it's right now the bench is Timberlake, Elmarco, and Parker Brown to supplement Hunter Dickinson. It's all about Elmarco Jackson and Nick Timberlake on this Kansas bench for the rest of the season. I think the two play really well together, and that's kind of been a bit of a positive. But yeah, Kansas, they need to get something out of these guys. And in the Cincinnati game last night, look at the plus minus after the game. Every single person on Kansas was positive. Besides, if you had to guess, who were the people who were not positive on the plus minus?
I would guess Nick
Yes.
Timberlake because of that and one he gave up, and probably Jamari.
Jamari.
Yeah, and Parker.
Parker was actually plus, but there's one more.
Marco.
Jamari, Elmarco, Timberlake, the only people minus on the bench, and that's your bench right there. So clearly there was a drop off whenever that bench came in, and that's what Bill Self is trying to not happen, and he said it hurts right now. Kansas really not having any depth. It does.
It's still January, so we've seen Elmarco and Timberlake be so much better than what they are right now. It's late January. I mean, it's almost February. There's only so much development they can do from now until, we're in the middle of Big 12 play. Like we need, like you're saying, you're absolutely right. We need them now more than we might need them in a couple months. And they're not ready right now. And they both show flashes, Nick and Elmarco. Nick played really well against West Virginia. He did. And he had that insane poster against Oklahoma State. That we forgot to talk about.
2 steps back. It's always 1 step forward, 2 steps back.
And then he makes a nice play last night, and then he gets on defense, and then guy hits a step back and hits one, and Nick fouls him and one, and he doesn't come out the rest of the game. And he said something to Bill walking off the bench. I don't know what he said, but there was a moment for sure.
And he didn't play in the second half after that. I think Mike pointed that out on Twitter, so that was interesting for sure.
He didn't play in the second half. The teams do the same thing to him, what they do to Johhny. They just go right at him when he's playing defense. He's kind of getting into this defensive liability, like at least on ball. He actually makes some athletic plays off the ball, poking the ball loose, getting a block or two. But yeah, it's looking bleak right now. And Kansas needs Elmarco and Nick to be threats to score right now.
Yeah, I kind of wanted to bring up, since we're talking about the bench and the depth a little bit, some comments from Seth Greenberg and Jay Williams. This was at halftime of the Cincinnati game. I just thought both of these uh, quotes from them were very interesting. Let me find them real quick. So this is what Jay Williams said about this Kansas team at halftime. And I think a lot of this has to do with the bench and that sort of thing. But this is what Jay Williams said. Kansas, they lack the athleticism of older Kansas teams. So that means their attention to detail, they have to execute. They're more of a systematic team. If they're not executing, they're not going to be up in ball games. And Seth Greenberg kind of added on to that. He said, this is not a typical Kansas team. We've said all season long they have the smallest margin of error of any Kansas team the last 10 years. Still well coached, still well talented, but they don't dominate you. They don't impose their identity on the game. And I think a lot of that right now has to do with just because Kansas is still looking for answers from this bench and just made a rotation change to kind of really strengthen up the rotation in the starting lineup. So what are your thoughts on those comments, Jackson?
Well, I think freshman Devon Dotson would like to have a word because that team was way more dysfunctional than this team. So let's
The
relax
team
a little
during
bit
the COVID year was
on the
way more dysfunctional than this team.
yeah, even that, yeah. I think that was Ochai's junior year, sophomore year. Yeah, both of those teams I thought were in a worse spot than this one. It's a lot because of what we've talked about, how DeJuan Harris isn't a scoring dominant guard. And the reason they say things like, oh, Kansas must execute, Kansas has to run every play correctly and get good open shots every possession. It's because in the past, yeah, Bill Self is a very X's and O's guys. We're going to run my stuff. My stuff has worked forever and it's awesome. So we're going to do it. But when the chips fall, Devontae Graham still hits a step back, or Frank Mason still gets an and one, or Sharon Collins gets in the rim, or Mario hits a big shot, or Tyshawn Taylor hits a big shot.
Remy Martin makes
Remy
a
Martin
crazy
hits a
play.
big shot. These are all guards that I'm talking about, all ball dominant guards. Kansas's ball dominant guard this year is a maestro. He's not he's not a bulldog, right? He's an artist. He's conducting the offense. He's trying to make everything look right, make everything run smoothly. That's why people are saying this Kansas team needs to execute almost flawlessly every single game because your main point guard isn't going to pull up and get you 25.
Kansas doesn't have anybody who can go get their own shot besides Kevin McCullough. Like, Kevin McCullough is the only person on Kansas who you can throw the ball to and say, all right, you do you try to go get a bucket. Like, who else on Kansas is doing that?
It's nobody right now. It's not even Johhny Furphy, right? Johhny Furphy is not going
Need
to
that March. You
off the
need it.
dribble. He's I mean, Johnny's not going to, break you down and take you off the dribble. Kevin hit a couple nice reverse, like step back, 12-foot fadeaway. His efficiency in general is going down. So, and like we said, we gotta keep that on watch because he is the only guy who can get his own shot. And if his percentages are slowly coming down, that's going to end up showing up at the end of games.
I think from Jay and Seth that was a little bit of an overreaction, to be completely honest. I mean,
you're right in a way, though.
In a way, but man, this everybody forgets still. Like, I swear, Seth was trying to say that this Kansas team isn't really that talented, and that's just
like Hunter Dickinson's still there.
Like, Hunter's there, Kevin's there. Like, Kevin's going to the NBA. I think Elmarco is still probably going to have a chance.
Still going to go. Johnny's definitely going to go.
Johnny's an NBA player. We didn't even talk about that, but Johhny Furphy's starting to kind of creep up on them draft boards now. But
I don't like
yeah,
that.
Kansas has dudes, and Kansas
at least 3 NBA players on the team.
2 losses to UCF and West Virginia in this league. Bad losses. Not good. You don't want to see it.
Not beat UConn or Tennessee? Did that not happen? The UConn and Tennessee games just fake? I don't know.
So yeah, it's an interesting, Kansas basketball, man. I've been around it now for 4 or 5 years, and if Kansas isn't perfect and dominating and, obviously the best team in the country, everything's on fire. So it is what it is. Just got a couple things to to go over before we get out of here. First off, Kevin McCullough. Bill Self said post game yesterday that Kevin McCullough has a bone bruise that hasn't quite healed yet. Self said it's kind of been bothering him for a little bit, and they'll be looking to give McCullough maybe a little bit of extra rest with Kansas's next game not being until Saturday against Iowa State. So just a little update there on Kevin. Before we head to the under 4 timeout, we're going to talk a little Joel Embiid and
Oh
talk
yeah.
about this Big 12 conference. We're going to be talking about it every single week in the under 4 because this conference is crazy and every week is going to be a battle. So we'll see you guys at the under 4.
As you guys know by now, we've partnered with BetMGM Sportsbook for this college basketball season. We're going to be using BetMGM lines to make all of our picks and predictions throughout the college basketball season. And we are going to have special offers for you, the listeners and the viewers on the Field of 68 each and every week during the season. If you haven't signed up with BetMGM yet, use the bonus code FIELD1500 and you will get up to a $1,500 first bet offer on your first wager on BetMGM Sportsbook. Here's what you got to do. Download the BetMGM app. Sign up using the bonus code FIELD1500. Deposit at least $10 and place your first wager on any game. You will receive up to $1,500 in bonus bets if that bet loses. Just make sure you use the bonus code FIELD1500 when you sign up. And remember, BetMGM is now available under one wallet in select states. As a New Jersey resident, this is super convenient for me when I have to go cover games in New York or Philly. When crossing state borders, just log into your existing account instead of having to create new accounts in each state that you go to. And most importantly, I got to let you know, we do have some fun stuff coming up for this college basketball season. Bet insurance tokens, college hoops odds boosts, my personal favorite, parlay odds boosts. So download the BetMGM app today.
Welcome back, everybody, to The Hum, a Kansas Hoops podcast via the Field of 68. We are now here at the under 4 timeout. And first things first, Jackson, Joel Embiid.
Oh my gosh.
70 points last night, broke a Sixers franchise record, topping Wilt Chamberlain, another Jayhawk with his 70 points, 18 rebounds. I believe he had 5 assists as well. It's the first ever 70, 15, and 5 game in NBA history. One of like 10 70-point games in all of NBA history. Joel Embiid, Jackson.
He's a monster, dude. He's such a beast. Passing Wilt in any type of fashion means you're doing something good. Lots been said about Joel this year, that he's a free throw merchant, that he's a flopper. While some of that may be true, you cannot deny that this guy, he is so skilled. Dude, he's hitting mid ranges like KD is. Like, I'm dead serious. His mid range. I've been watching a lot of Sixers games. They've been on national TV a lot. And I also have League Pass, so I've been watching them a ton. Because they got 3 Jayhawks. They have Kelly and they have Marcus, too. So they have 3 Jayhawks. But yeah, dude, his skill is, I never thought that he would be this skilled, like with the ball in his hands. I mean, his ball handling is like flawless. He's automatic. When he gets in with like 15 feet, good luck.
Yeah, I think he's the best player in the NBA right now. And he's elevated his assist numbers this year, too.
Yeah.
He had 10 assists the other night. He's just been an absolute monster. And I thought it was really funny. Two comments post game. First, yeah. Joel, whenever he was told that he was the only player to ever have 70, 15, and 5, he was like, what? Like, Wilt never did that? Like, Wilt never did that? And they were like, nope, like, only you, Joel. And he's like, oh, like, cool.
That's awesome.
That's pretty crazy. And then Bill Self commenting on it with SVP on Sports Center. He was like, yeah, Joel, I taught him everything he knows in the 8 months he was here in Lawrence. So, yeah, I thought that was really funny.
Dude, when James Harden got traded, like, his world really opened up because they run everything through him, and Tyrese Maxey's been really good for him too. But dude, like, Joel is like carrying that team, man. Like, that's a solid, like, they're a really solid team, but they're not like a super team by any means, and they're one of the best teams in the league, and it is solely because of JoJo. Like, dude, 70 is a lot, Sam. 70 is a lot of points. Like, that's a lot. Like, you see what Cat had 45 in the first half. and he finished with 62.
What's crazy, all of this happened last night on the anniversary of Kobe's 81-point game. And I don't think anybody has like mentioned that or said anything about that, but yeah, I saw all day Kobe, 81 points. I guess all the NBA guys were like, well, shit, I might try for that too.
They had to. They had no other choice but to try and go for 81. Like, it is so hard. I mean, Cat almost had 50 and a half, and he still didn't finish with 70. Like, it's so hard to score 70 points in a 48-minute game, unless you're going to the free throw line 30 times. That most definitely helps.
Yeah, another Bill Self quote on Joel after this game that I thought was funny. SVP basically asked him, like, when did you know that Joel could be this good? And Bill Self said this: the first time I saw him practice at his high school, he got into it with some kid. He started chasing him around the gym. I saw how athletic he was chasing a little 5'10" guy. I told Norm he's going to be the #1 pick in the draft.
Hands down.
Imagine being like, yeah, this guy is amazing. He's really good because he looks real athletic chasing down that 5'10" kid.
That kid super fast.
That's good
shout
stuff.
Shout out JoJo. That's crazy. That's crazy.
Well, all right. Now it's time to talk some Big 12 here, Jackson. Right now, the Jayhawks are 4-2 in conference. They're sitting in third place because Kansas State is 4-1 and Texas Tech is 4-1, so they're half game out. Then you got a bunch of teams sitting at 3-2. You have Houston there, have a lot of other teams, but this week in the Big 12, man, it gets crazier and crazier every single week. And we mentioned Kansas, they've had somewhat of a quote unquote easy schedule to start this one. If you look at Kansas's schedule to go on from here, you got at Iowa State on Saturday, you got Oklahoma State, then you have Houston, Kansas State, Baylor, Texas Tech, Oklahoma, Texas, BYU, Baylor, pretty much all ranked teams, and then Kansas State against Houston. Like, wow.
That's a gauntlet. It's going to be tough. I don't think they're going to be favored on Saturday. I think Iowa State's going to be favored. So everybody out there, KU at plus money, you can decide what you want to do with that, but I know what I'm going to do with that. Dude, that's the ESPN projection still has Houston like 73% chance to win Allen Fieldhouse. That's never happened before, and it probably won't happen again. That just goes to show, like, this is, first of all, Houston is just the analytics darling, which is ridiculous. But it's this conference is a mess, dude. I mean, the winner is going to have 4 or 5 losses, which you're not going to see in any other conference.
The winner might have 5 to 7. I guarantee the winner of this conference has 5 losses or more. I guarantee.
There might be 4 winners too. Like, there might be 4 teams who like have a share of it, which would kind of suck. But that's just how the league's going to go, especially this year with 14 teams. Like, there's gonna. I think K-State's. I said last episode, I don't think K-State make tournament. I've changed my mind already. They're probably gonna make tournament. There's probably gonna be 10 teams in the tournament. Shoot, UCF, like, they only need like 2 or 3 big wins, and now they're on the bubble. I mean,
K-State is the last possession away against Texas Tech. They lost 60-59 from being 5-0 in the conference right now.
Well, they blew that game too. They should have absolutely won that game. They should have absolutely. Oh, their schedule has been much easier than Kansas's, but they've also beaten teams like UCF and West Virginia. I mean, shoot, like, K-State's performed better in the conference than Kansas had. Yeah, they beat Baylor too. Like, they've had a better performance in the Big 12 play than Kansas had so far, which pains me to say, and it's super embarrassing. But like, I also, like, it'd be so
a long way to go.
It'd be so crazy if the winner was an outlier like K-State or Tech, right? And it's not Kansas, Houston, Baylor, like it's none of them. It's the Wildcats, baby. It's like, no, that's not going to happen.
Yeah, there's some pretty big games coming up this week too. Kansas doesn't play until Saturday at Iowa State and Ames, but tonight on Tuesday, you got Texas at Oklahoma. You got a battle of the 2 teams that Kansas has lost to in Big 12 play, West Virginia at UCF. And then the biggest one is number 4 Houston at BYU. We find out really how real BYU is tonight, I think. So those are some big games. You got K-State, Iowa State on Wednesday. And then on Saturday, you have a crazy slate. Kansas State travels to Houston. That game will be big for the Big 12 standings. Of course, I mentioned the Iowa State game. Tech goes at Oklahoma. Texas goes at BYU. And then we got kind of some not so great games with West Virginia, Oklahoma State, UCF, Cincinnati, but you also have TCU and Baylor. So this is going to be a pretty telling week in the Big 12. I think we'll see quite a bit of shakeup in the standings. Like right now, all the teams are just like literally bunched up. Like Houston, Oklahoma, Baylor, Iowa State, all 3-2, and then BYU, TCU, Texas, UCF, West Virginia, all 2-3. So,
hey, Cincinnati won at BYU. Like Cincinnati's a solid team. By no, like they're no slouch for sure. That was, I mean, that's a solid
33
team.
in KenPom. They are 33 in KenPom.
BYU is a really good team too, and like Cincinnati going into their place and beating them. Like I think Cincinnati is one of the more underrated teams in the conference. And man, that BYU game, I think they could beat Houston. I really do. And if they beat Houston, like, dude, think about like the effect that, I mean, just there's just no, that just means there's literally no easy wins in this conference. You can't pencil in anything. Like home teams, I was saying beginning of the season, home teams were locks. That might still be the case, but dude, it's there are no free wins. Like not even for Kansas having Allen Fieldhouse. I'm not even comfortable penciling that in anymore because it's just been so crazy this year.
Yeah. Big 12, best basketball conference in the land. Crazy league. Man, it's going to be a ride, Jackson, to end the season, especially with all the crazy games that Kansas has and all the good teams they play. All right, everybody. That's it for us today on the Kansas Hoops podcast. Thank you, everybody, for joining us on this one. We'll be back, I think, actually before the Iowa State game. We'll have another episode to discuss Iowa State a little bit, preview them, and then, of course, we'll be back after that game. Thank you, everybody, for joining us today. We'll see you next time.